My name is Paul Smith Keitley, and I'm the co-founder of an organization in the UK called the STEAM Centre. And we do a whole bunch of stuff with any kind of technology that we can include some kind of art with it as well. So last time I think I presented about robotics, looking at artificial intelligence with a camera. This time round, however, I want to talk about something that a lot of people don't necessarily think of in the whole technology arena, and that's the weather. Now, we've got a project which we're starting to work with a school locally in Telford, which is probably about 17 miles away from us. And we have a 6-month project where we have the students basically start off with the teacher says, okay, go look out the window, tell me what the weather's doing. And obviously the students go look out the window and say it's raining or it's sunny or whatever. And then we take that a stage further and say, well, okay, we know it's raining, but how can we measure that? What can we do? And one of the things that we'll be working with them is they will be setting one of these up in their school. You've obviously got an anemometer, which is for the wind speed. You've got a wind direction. You have a rain gauge here, and you have a temperature gauge over here. And the cool thing about the weather stations is at the moment, everybody talks about global warming and we talk about climate change and things like that. Well, it's ideal to be able to track it. So that weather station connects to a box like this. This box has a USB port on it and connects into a computer. So the theory is, once you've gone through with the students what you need to measure and what you need to be able to measure it with, i.e. that weather station, you then get the students to go and start to think about how you actually need to measure the weather. Where would you need to put that weather station? You obviously need free access to where the wind's going to blow, so you don't want to put it in a sheltered thing because you're never going to get any wind speed. Don't want it under a tree because you're not going to catch the rainfall. But when you've got that bit set up, one of the things that that weather station allows you to do, as I said, is to be able to connect to a computer. Once you've connected to a computer, you then have the ability to create a website. So you create a website. In this instance, it's going to be Southall School in Telford. And every 15 minutes, the weather station updates the website for the weather station. So it's possible for anybody in the school or anybody in the surrounding area, or in fact anybody around the world globally, to go and see what the weather is at that particular place. What makes it even more exciting is there is an organization called the Weather Underground. And I don't know whether any of you have heard of it, but the Weather Underground is a list of about 50,000 weather stations around the world. So it's a global thing. And what you can do is to sign up your weather station to the Weather Underground. So what will happen is, obviously, that you've got your weather station running constantly, gathering data, putting data onto its website, and the website then takes that data, packages it, and puts it up onto the Weather Underground. And that means that anybody globally can use the Weather Underground data to be able to track weather systems. So you can track whether low pressure or high pressure is coming, which direction it's coming from. You can download the data through the Weather Underground, so you can really start to do some research into pertinent weather conditions. Taking it a stage further, I've seen a lot of the presentations on Gift are to do with coding and stuff like that. Well, you can set up something here in the UK. One of the tasks that's set in the ICT curriculum is to understand about excuse me, internet communication, internet services, and certainly a level of coding to be able to do things like if that, then this, and those kind of things. There is a service out there called Ifttt.com, which, if you haven't played with it, you really owe yourself to go and do that. Ifttt.com actually works with the Weather Underground. So what you can have your students do is to take a look at it, go to the Weather Underground website and check what the weather is, and then do something with regards to how that weather is behaving. Usually the ones that we do are involved like, okay, let's go to the Weather Underground and let's check, I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning, whether it's raining or how cold it is, and then have the Ifttt.com send you an email saying it's going to be less than 10 degrees today, you really need to wear a coat. So that kind of brings into place a whole bunch of one of the things that we do as an organization, which is to develop what we call 3D curriculum. So our 3D curriculum covers being able to align a lesson or a project with the national curriculum of the country we're working in. So in this case, that if that then else works with the UK ICT curriculum, it has to align itself with the second dimension is to align itself with real world. Well, there's nothing more real world than knowing that you're going to get wet if you don't take a coat with you. And the third part of it is to provide a CPD raft for the teachers. And I'm going to be doing this for the school in Telford in the beginning of November. We're actually doing a 2-hour twilight session where we're introducing them to the whole concept of weather and tracking and data and stuff like that. There's a couple of nice side pieces occur with running this project. One is the weather station, or in particular this interface box, stores 3 months worth of weather data. A lot of people look at things like Excel and go, well, okay, how are we going to teach Excel? What are we going to do with it? And they maybe, I don't know, count the number of kids that have blue eyes and the number of kids that have brown eyes and do a chart. This allows you to take the data from the weather and do graphing, do max, min, medians, all this kind of stuff. So you can actually plot your, say, your rainfall graph, and you can look at it and you see the big spike last Tuesday, and you go, ah, that's the day that this particular storm got here, and it actually means something. It's more relevant. The other side of it is, if you're creating a website to maintain your own weather station, you have the ability on there to add imagery and add text to it. So you can introduce things like English language arts for students to maybe write a piece of poetry about the seasons, or maybe, I don't know, particularly if you're in the northeastern states where you have all that wonderful full foliage, you can do things where you can take photographs, or you can paint it, or you can do all that kind of thing. And you can add that to the website, so you can make it a truly interactive experience, not just for people who are science-based, but also to the arts side as well. So you can make it as a project which is very inclusive. And that's about it. Am I close to time?
Oh, yes. But
Sorry
I wanted, you're not at there yet, but I did want some time for Aaron and I to ask some questions on behalf of our global audience, because
Sure.
you've presented a lot of really good info here.
Thank you.
I love your idea of using a transdisciplinary approach to data, not just the data nerds or the Excel nerds or people who are passionate about data, but also the scientists and the climatologists and the artists and the poets, and how you influence culture through the collection and application of real world data. That's very noble. I love that.
Thank you. It's one of the things that we try to do with our basis of 3D curriculum. I mean, we do a thing with a Lego kit where we build the car and then have the kids invent. Basically, they start to invent anti-lock braking and anti-skid mechanism and stuff like that, just using washing up liquid and a slight slope. So everything that we do tries to relate to the real world, because on that basis, it means more to the kids, and the more it means to the students, the more they retain, the better their grades, the better their prospects and all that kind of thing.
Well, as somebody who's so experienced in the in witnessing or cultivating experiential learning for students, I feel like we have a great opportunity, and admittedly, I'm asking you to do my job a little. How do you make the case to somebody that they should support this? Like, what's your, do you have a story, for example, of a student that you've seen thrive or excel because they've gotten their hands on a problem?
3 years ago, I was running a festival for a company I worked for. It was a STEAM festival, so we were going in doing science and technology and stuff like that. And I have a very good friend who works for Microsoft in London called Saqib Sheikh. And you can find his videos on the internet. And he is a blind software developer. And to kind of go back a stage from there, I was doing this event in Coventry, and I got a phone call from one of the schools it was attending that said, we have a officially registered blind student who would like to come along to the presentation. Can you do something that's particularly meaningful for her? And I said, well, sure, I can find something. And I spoke to Saqib and said, can I use your video live in this thing? And he has a video online, and it basically shows the development that he did with a pair of smart glasses. And basically what he does is he takes when he touches the side of the glasses, it takes an image, and it then uploads that image to Microsoft's cognitive services, and the cognitive services then look at it and tell him what it is. So he's able to, one of the pieces in the video, you see a guy go past him on a skateboard. He turns and follows it and pushes a button, and it says, I see a young man on a skateboard going past you. Anyway, this young lady was listening to this video, and at the end of the event, she came to me and said, am I allowed to touch you? And I said, well, of course you can, as long as it's okay with your teacher. The teacher said it was okay. And she grabbed a hold of me and gave me a great big hug. And she said, this is the first time I've ever been to something where I've actually seen somebody who is in the same situation as I am, who's actually employed in technology, and it's something that I want to do. And can you recommend where I can go? So I put her in touch with Saqib, and they've been going backwards and forward for the past 2 years, and she is going to actually be doing computer science at university.
My hair is standing up. It makes, thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for all the work you're doing in inspiring young people and cultivating skills that will ensure that they're successful in the future. And quite frankly, that our world is okay in the future as well because of all of the creativity and problem solving skills that they have.
Before we let Paul go, Paul,
keep it up. Thank you.
Okay.
Come back and tell us one more story like that in January.
Yeah,
That's
I'll be
what
here.
The world needs to hear more of.
Okay.